The Thunder Warriors are dying, and they know it. You can hear their death rattles echoing through the Ararat peaks as the last of the Emperor's first sons make their final stand against the Custodes. These giants who conquered Terra for their master now face execution by his golden guardians, their gene-forged bodies finally failing after centuries of war. The mountain air reeks of burning flesh and betrayed loyalty. What they don't know is that this purge, this necessary cruelty, is just the first note in a symphony of betrayal that will consume the galaxy.
Why did the Emperor kill his own warriors?
Because perfection demands sacrifice, and even gods must sometimes murder their children to birth their dreams. But in teaching that lesson to the Thunder Warriors, the Emperor planted a seed that would one day bloom in the heart of his greatest son. To see how mercy became weakness and strength became damnation, we must witness the rise of the one who would make betrayal an art form. For millennia, Terra had been a broken world ruled by techno-barbarian warlords who squatted in the ruins of humanity's golden age. The Emperor, though he wasn't called that yet, was just another figure in the shadows, watching from his hidden laboratories beneath the Himalayan peaks. He'd seen the rise and fall of countless empires, watched humanity tear itself apart while warp storms raged overhead, cutting the planet off from the stars. But unlike the petty kings who fought over scraps, he had a vision. One world, one species, one destiny written in blood and thunder.
How long had he been planning this?
Longer than civilizations lost. While warlords lived and died in their brief spans, he perfected the science that would birth his first army. The Thunder Warriors weren't just soldiers, they were proof of concept. Gene-forged giants designed to break every fortress and humble every tyrant on Terra. Stronger than any human, faster than any machine, and loyal beyond question. Or so he thought. But even gods can miscalculate, and the Emperor's first children carried within them the seeds of their own destruction. The Unification Wars began not with grand declarations, but with a single, calculated strike. The Emperor emerged from his mountain fortress with legions of Thunder Warriors at his back, each one a walking apocalypse wrapped in ceramite and fury. They swept across the Pan-Pacific like a tide of gold and crimson, reducing the techno-barbarian kingdoms to ash and memory. The Achaemenid Empire, Cardinal Tang's domain, the Indonesic bloc, all fell before the thunder of his advance.
It sounds like they were unstoppable.
They were, and that was the problem. The Thunder Warriors were too perfect for their own good, too strong, too aggressive, too unstable. Their gene seed was flawed, designed for conquest, but not for peace. As Terra unified beneath the Emperor's banner, he realized his first children had served their purpose. They were weapons of war in a world that needed builders of empire. So he began work on their replacements, the Astartes, the Space Marines, more controlled, more refined, and just as disposable. And that's when he set a precedent. No matter how loyal you are, once your use has run out, you will be disposed.
That's when the massacre at Ararat Peaks happened.
Yes, the first of many betrayals to come. With Terra united and the warp storms finally clearing, the Emperor looked to the stars and saw opportunity. The Great Crusade launched with fanfare that could be heard across the galaxy. 1 million ships carrying the message of human unity to every corner of space. But the real triumph wasn't in the fleets or the armies. It was in the 20 suns that were scattered across the galaxy, the Primarchs, each one a fragment of his own divine essence, made manifest.
The Primarchs were his children?
More than children, they were extensions of his will, each designed to embody a different aspect of war and leadership. As the crusade found them one by one, they took command of their legions and transformed the galaxy. Horus, the diplomat, Guilliman, the administrator, Sanguinius, the inspiration, each perfect in their own way. But perfection, as the Emperor had learned with the Thunder Warriors, can be its own curse. And among all his sons, none shone brighter or fell harder than the one he would name War Master. Ulanor was where it all began to unravel, though none could see it at the time. The greatest Orc empire in galactic history lay broken beneath the boots of the Lunar Wolves, and Horus stood triumphant over the corpse of their war boss. The Emperor himself placed the crown of War Master upon his son's head, naming him commander of the entire crusade. It should have been the greatest honor in human history.
But it wasn't?
It was abandonment disguised as elevation. The Emperor withdrew to Terra, leaving Horus to face the galaxy's horrors alone while he worked on some secret project none could fathom. In the isolation of command, whispers found fertile ground. The Chaos Gods, patient as entropy itself, began their seduction with the simplest of truths, that the Emperor had used his sons and would discard them just as he had the Thunder Warriors. And in the depths of space, on a moon called Davin, those whispers would finally bear their poisonous fruit. The wound that felled Horus on Davin was more than physical. It was spiritual, a gateway for powers that had waited eons for this moment. As the War Master lay dying, his sons made a choice that would damn the galaxy. They took him to the Serpent Lodge, where Chaos cultists promised healing in exchange for consideration. What emerged from that ritual wasn't Horus anymore, but something wearing his face and wielding his authority.
How could no one see the change?
Because corruption is subtle, and Horus was a master of masks. He moved carefully, converting his brothers one by one. Lorgar, already turned after his humiliation on Monarchia. Fulgrim, seduced by promises of perfection. Angron, driven mad by the butcher's nails. Each fell for different reasons, but all fell to the same whispered promise that they deserved better than servitude to an absent father. By the time the loyal Primarchs realized what was happening, half the galaxy was already burning. Istvan III was where the mask finally slipped. Horus gathered his most loyal warriors, those who would never turn against the Emperor, and sent them to the planet's surface. Then he ordered the virus bombing. Life Eater swept across the world like a plague of dissolution, turning flesh to soup and bone to dust. The screams of the dying could be heard across the void, and still the traitor Primarchs watched without flinching.
They killed their own sons?
Without hesitation, because that's what corruption does. It makes the unthinkable seem necessary, the monstrous seem justified. Istvan Fofi followed, where 3 loyal legions walked into a trap that would see them nearly annihilated. The galaxy convulsed as brother turned on brother, as the very foundations of the Imperium cracked and bled. And through it all, Horus smiled, knowing that he had learned the Emperor's greatest lesson, that love is weakness, and weakness must be purged. The siege of Terra was the crucible where the fate of humanity would be decided. For months, the traitor legions hammered at the Imperial Palace, while the Emperor sat silent on his throne, playing a game whose rules only he understood. When Horus finally lowered the shields of his flagship, it wasn't surrender, it was invitation. The Emperor, Sanguinius, and Dawn teleported aboard the vengeful spirit for the final confrontation.
What happened in that throne room?
The death of angels and the birth of martyrs. Sanguinius, the most beloved of all the Primarchs, fell to his brother's claws. His perfect wings spread like a funeral shroud across the deck. But his sacrifice brought the Emperor the moment he needed. When Horus hesitated, when some fragment of the sun he'd once been flickered in his eyes, the Emperor struck with all the fury of a dying star. The War Master's body was obliterated, his soul scattered to the winds. But the victory came at a price that would echo through 10,000 years. The Emperor survived, but barely. Interred upon the golden throne, he became less a man than a beacon, his psychic might holding back the tides of chaos while his body slowly withered. The Imperium he'd built to unite humanity became a monument to his absence, rigid, paranoid, and utterly without mercy. The lesson of the Thunder Warriors had been learned too well. Trust no one completely, love nothing fully, and always be prepared to destroy what you've created.
So the betrayal never really ended?
Number It became the foundation of everything that followed. Every Space Marine who takes the field carries the gene seed of a Primarch who might have turned traitor. Every Imperial citizen lives under laws written in the blood of civil war. And somewhere in the warp, the Chaos Gods laugh, knowing that in trying to prevent betrayal, the Emperor ensured it would define his legacy forever. The Thunder Warriors died believing they were being replaced by something better. In the end, they were just the first casualties in a war that would consume the galaxy, and the Emperor's soul along with it.
If you want to learn more about the Warhammer 40k universe, subscribe and check out the links in the description to read up on Horus and Sanguinius showdown.